Well, howdy, Nearly Senior Citizen here. Greetings, boys, girls, and all of our non-binary friends, and welcome to a day where I don't have any other overshirts, so I'm wearing one of my thicker flannel ones, and even though it is literally freezing outside, I am overly warm inside. Yay! So thumbs up on that. Hopefully your day is going well, but it is freezing, and things are, other than that, going pretty well. I actually slept until, oh boy, there was heat, too much of it, and I woke up almost sweating, which is bad because then my legs are gonna cramp. But I cooled down, and then it was time to get up, so I almost slept an entire time. Thumbs up for that. Hopefully you slept well. And of course, front-loading your videos. If you could toss me a like, that'd be awesome. If you could subscribe to the channel, that'd be very cool. If you could leave me a comment, anything, even for the algorithm, that would be double plus good. And I would like to thank each and every one of my Patreon patrons. These literally beautiful and literally awesome people that help to keep, it's very loud outside again, that help to keep me and my pet alive, and that's a very good thing. Thank you so very much. Without your help, I would be literally homeless by this time. I don't want to be homeless. I won't survive long on the street. So thumbs up, thank you. If you'd like to help me out, I have links to my Patreon in the video description, along with a PayPal for possible donations, an Amazon wish link with cat food and such on it, and of course a P.O. box where if you send me anything at all, I will open it up on camera for people to enjoy and see. So thumbs up on that, thank you. Greatly appreciated. End of front loading. Hokey smokes. I didn't do a ton yesterday. It was very, very late before I was able to do any recording for the channel. And then by the time I even finished editing and rendering, it was time to go walkies. So I got back from walkies at like 9:30 at night, and my video for the day had finally rendered. So thumbs up, that was fun. Hopefully today I'm going to be able to record like some solo RPG stuff. That would be cool. Hopefully even some D100 Dungeon, even though I won't be able to have any PDF stuff to show up on screen. Thumbs up for that. One thing that somebody mentioned is there are sound issues with the way I do my editing. Some of it is YouTube, because I have sent some perfectly balanced stuff in, and then when it's done processing it, it is horrible. But the other times it's me. My issue is I used to balance using headphones, and then I realized that when you played it via desktop speakers, you could barely hear anything at all other than just my voice. So I'd edit for desktop, which means when you get on headphones, if there are going to be any issues, they're going to be even worse. So should I do it for headphones? The problem is my headphones have a bad short in them. I can't just wear headphones right now. It takes work to make mine work, and I only have $60 to last the rest of the month on, and I have to buy pet food and such. So I don't have any money. I am going to be, it's not going to be pretty by the end of the month. So thumbs up on that. But I got to work on that. And taking a look over here, just real quick, I wanted to talk as well about, I was thinking about horror games because I've been watching, always have, I watched Let's Plays. And there are some people that just play horror games. There are some horror games that, I've talked before about there are really two kinds of fiction. There are ways that you can break everything down into modalities, and this one is just one of those various categorizations. You can break down fiction in this real world view into overcoming challenges and accepting inevitabilities. The one kind of story is you need to get used to things. This is the way things are now. You need to live with it because otherwise you're just going to beat yourself to death trying to change it otherwise. Ooh, my heart just skipped a beat. Thumbs up. Yeah. And then the overcoming challenges, of course, is you overcome the challenge and you go onward and you have triumphed. And there's a big difference in focus because in accepting inevitabilities, the inevitability may be the main character dies at the end of the story. There might be nothing that's even remotely positive about the end. Accepting inevitabilities. The problem is these games are presented as overcoming challenges. You're finding these things, you're doing this, you're making it through a maze, you're running from the monster, you get to the end. And just like a lot of horror movies, it's presented as overcoming challenges. And then in the last 10 seconds of the movie, they show it's, oh, this isn't accepting inevitabilities, you lose, bad guys win. And then they do that in the game. It might be, oh, you've got to escape from this fast food joint, from the evil mascot. And then you make it out. And then at the very end, the last 5 seconds, the bad thing comes out of the darkness, and then the game ends because you die. Tonally, it is so jarring because they have completely different focuses. Overcoming challenges is so different from accepting inevitabilities. But in the last 10 seconds when you lose, they show it's about accepting inevitabilities when they gave you no indication that it was going to be that way. Other than that, hey, it's a horror game, you're going to be disappointed. And so I don't like that. But I just wanted to talk about that because one of the biggest things that happened when I went out on walkies last night, I was thinking about how I talked about mentioning the whole Perpetual Dungeon thing and the whole space station things getting bigger thing. And then one of my commenters, Forum U, mentioned they aren't really so sure they like the whole Perpetual Dungeon part. Well, that just stuck in my head, apparently in my subconscious. Because when I was going out walkies, I started just to think of that comment, and then, bam! It exploded into my head, almost fully formed. I had to iron off all the filings and sharp edges, but that was only like 5% of the work. The whole Perpetual Dungeon thing, I can see it as this, not as a game setting or anything, but it's presented as, say, fiction and as an idea where the people aren't the focus, it's time and the city. Because you would start off in Marbden, and Marbden is a largely abandoned place. You can tell in the past that it was big. The city is, well, it's only a town by this time, but it's a small town, and then there are just abandoned buildings. Some of them in not bad shape as you go further outward, and then the further you go, the more abandoned and destroyed they are, and becoming more dangerous because roofs are falling in and just buildings are being reclaimed by nature. And the stories are told, of course, that Marbden is built on the ruins of old Undermarb, the ruins underneath the city. And there's all these things that you can play on, and people have tried to get inside, but nothing happens but shifting ground, seismic issues, there's a small quake, some things fall, a couple teenagers find their way into the ruins, Undermarb. And they come out with some cool stuff, like a little device that when you bring it on, you press a button, the only button that's really left after time, the screen lights up. There's a washed out short animation that plays on repeat. Because it's so washed out and the screen is so old, it's only just really usable as a light source. And they discover that when it runs down to nothing after a few hours, just put it in the sun for a while and it functions again for a few hours as a light source, like a flashlight. And so they and their friends are going in and exploring old Undermarb. And of course, as things happen, you expand further, you need to bring more supplies, you have been talking, people are coming in, you and your friends are going further, and then one time, of course, you meet a critter and you have an actual fight. You're only using little hammers to knock things into stone walls so that you can put up guide ropes and such, but thank God you brought the hammers because the two of you in panic were able to beat the thing to death, and you realize you are going to need weapons and armor if you're going to be exploring, which means you need to start selling some of the stuff that you've been bringing out of these ruins instead of just keeping them. And that's when the word starts getting out, because they're selling these things in town and around, and word gets out. People are showing up. Supplies are showing up. What happens in human history when there is things like a gold rush, or people find things and make things, or there's a growing area where there's a large amount of people? Others show up to supply things. Marbden starts getting reinvigorated and growing because people are going down into Undermarb. In time, because of stretching out and exploring the ruins underneath Undermarb, you eventually reach a point where you start having to put stashes because you explored far enough that it takes about a day to get to the edge of the explored area so that you can go further. Well, you start having groups of people that will rent out lockers, or, oh, I'll stay here and we'll sell you torches. So you start having little outposts and under areas where people are living. Well, with people living underground, well, you're going to have to cycle people out because people do need sunlight. Well, with the machines coming out and the magic coming out and the research going on, people discover how to make under torches, because making glowing things is easy, but making it so that it has the proper spectrum of light to keep people healthy, that's a bit tougher, but they do it. And at first they're expensive, then they get cheaper, then they're everywhere. And people don't have to come up because there's sunlight. They can grow crops. They can get animals. Undermarb, as an underground society, is growing to take care of the needs of those who are adventuring outward. And when it becomes big enough that there are 3-4 days worth of underground walking to get to the place where you can start exploring, well, you have a real city because there's a need and people show up before you go exploring. Hey, why not stop here and have a nice meal? Why not sleep for the night in one of our warm, soft beds? Do you need a companion in your warm, soft bed? We can rent you anything or anyone you need. Undermarb, which pictographically there's a pictograph symbol for the city of Marbden. And literally it is just a divider line and then the generic symbol for town. Town under Marbden, which in English is easier just to say as Undermarb. This is growing to the point that eventually, for every 1 citizen that lives in Marbden, there are 5 citizens living in Undermarb, as the town underneath in this growing dungeon just keeps growing. There are more people, shops, farms, cattle. Eventually, this place would reach the point that they don't need supplies being brought in. They have mines, smelters, they have forges, there's manufacturing, because as they're exploring, they're finding things, they're finding rooms, there are vast arteries underground that they follow, and they are expanding outward, and eventually Undermarb becomes its own underground civilization, to the point that in a time the city of Marbden, feeling its influence goes, tries to do the old let's apply some pressures for our good. And it's like, well, you know, we're Marbden, we control your access to the surface, you need to treat us better, Undermarb, or we will close off your access. To which point Undermarb just says, we have been anticipating this, we already have exits that we can use. We don't need you, you need us. Come and renegotiate in good faith. And then they do so when the new rulers of Marbden, faced with just being cut off entirely, they bring as a sign of good faith all of the heads of the noble people and their families of those that back the idea. 4 big burlap sacks of heads, along with the sack containing the heads of just the king and his family and all of the counselors' heads and their families. At which point renegotiations begin. And of course Marbden and Undermarb continue to grow, and Marbden becomes an emissary, as Undermarb would become its own nation, growing downward because there's always more. In fact, they discovered that there's always more, to the point that arteries that branch off, they never connect with other parts of the dungeon, no matter how big they get. So Undermarb starts splintering and growing outward, becoming other city nations in Undermarb. to the point that in the future, because they are moving downward and outward as cities and civilizations, that eventually they move far enough away that Marbden can't afford to stretch out their supply lines inward, and Undermarb can't stretch their supply lines outward, so that eventually the people of Marbden go downward to try and find Undermarb, because it's been a while, but they've moved so far, and all of those outposts that used to hold 5,000-10,000 people were only being held up by 1 or 2, maybe 3 or 4, but with no real contact with Marbden anymore. They just pulled those all back, and it continues growing downward and outward. And of course, Marbden, with nothing there as a big emissary anymore, falls into slow disrepair. The outer edges of Marbden fall into ruin, and it just becomes smaller and smaller. And after about 500 or 600 years from the beginning of when Undermarb was first rediscovered, all things have fallen into ruin, and Undermarb is just, it's lost the entrance. The people of Marbden don't really care about stuff. There's just the ruins of the city. There's just the ruins that have all fallen down. They know that Undermarb used to be there, but now it's just basically a legend. No one's seen anything of it. No one can get down in there. Until one day, of course, some of the local youths find a way to get in there, and they find some of the stuff that the previous Undermarb left behind, and the whole cycle starts again. That just popped into my head. That is the sort of thing where Marbden starts this way, but about 300 years you have the huge capital of Marbden that has about 1 million people in it, and the bustling Undermarb, and all of the political intrigue that happens because of this, with the people of Undermarb, starting to be oppressed by the people of Marbden, and so that's why they're continuing at this point to move downward. All these huge things just start with something small. And so that, I really, really like Marbden and Undermarb. And the thing is, of course, this fits in perfectly with the whole Razor's Edge and inside-outside thing. Because especially if you want adventure on the Razor's Edge, all you have to do is head a couple kilometers out of any town, because towns are stable. Outside of town in an unstable area, because of the observation effect and persistence, you develop your own personal layer as you travel. And the layers and everything that happens where you're heading depends on what your destination thought is and where you have left and what you are facing. If you want to go and explore an abandoned underground outpost, you think of that and you walk toward territory where you think that would be. And within 5 minutes, you're going to be finding some kind of underground outpost that you can explore. It happens. And Marbden is one of those places, whether it's on the Razor's Edge or it's on the inside. I really like the whole Marbden and Undermarb thing, so I have a feeling I'm going to be working on this. And I've opened up 24 hours worth of comments on my community tab. I'm going to go through and thank however many people have left me comments in the past 24 hours. If I mispronounce a username, no disrespect is intended. And even though I count American Sign Language, well, I'm all out of my ADHD meds. We have Shinra, thumbs up, thank you very much. And yeah, this is the person that has issues with the way that I balance my sound, and I fully understand. There are problems with it, and I'm doing my best. We have Chris, thumbs up, thank you very, very much. It's Maori _, greatly appreciated. Cake, thumbs up, thank you very, very much. Good to see you. We have Stephen Blanchard, greatly appreciated, and Hokey smokes, I know it's awful. There's JAYY, thumbs up, thank you very much, greatly appreciated as well. Orphelius, well, buenos dias indeed. And then there is Ben B, greatly appreciated, thumbs up, it wasn't a bad day. Flora Mew, hopefully my Perpetual Dungeon stuff was interesting if you watched today. and then there is CLAES, and then with a exclamation point, and I understand. And then that is it. 10 people who left me comments. Oh, Hokey smokes. Oh, excuse me, gas needed to escape out of my body. 24 hours. Thank you very much to get me out of my head into the world, dealing with real people. I have no ideas if I made my sentence even halfway complete. I have no ideas why I just continued as if I was halfway through a sentence. But thumbs up and thank you all. Oh, what a day. Anyway, though, it is the beginning of a brand new week. I'm going to do everything that I can to try and not just curl up like a turtle, but yeah, turtles don't curl up. Well, to withdraw just like a turtle, so we shall see on that. Hopefully you can get done the things that you need to get done. That would be very, very cool. Yay! And of course, with all the diseases and such out there, please just take appropriate precautions for your appropriate situation. You do not need to get sick, injured, or game-ended. You do not need to make anyone else sick, injured, or game-ended. Be smart, be careful, thumbs up. And of course, if you're out walking, as I do every single night, and you hear the mournful howl of the bus that has your name on it, that bus horn echoing through the night, yeah, hopefully it's somebody else, but likely it's you, and you're gonna get smeared against the landscape. It's gonna be disgusting. Oh my God. But at the very least, it'll be fast. So, you take care. Have a great day today. I will see you on the flip side, and that is a very good thing.